At 3,000 feet over New York City, an ordinary flight became an extraordinary test of skill, judgment, and physics. It was January 15, 2009. U.S. Airways Flight 1549, a routine hop from LaGuardia to Charlotte, encountered a flurry of Canada geese that wiped out both engines. In less than 3 minutes, Captain Chesley Sully Sullenberger and First Officer Jeff Skiles transformed a potential catastrophe into a textbook emergency landing. This is a precise, moment-by-moment reconstruction of the miracle on the Hudson, rooted in cockpit audio, flight data, and the physics that made survival possible. At 15:25 Eastern, Flight 1549 took off. Climb was normal. The aircraft reached about 2,800 to 3,000 feet. The cockpit audio captures casual exchanges, checklists, weather, routine communications. Then, at approximately 15:27, the first impact. A loud bang was recorded in the cockpit, followed by another. The sound was immediate and unmistakable. Flight data shows a sudden loss in engine RPM and thrust. Both engines 1 and 2, suffered multiple bird strikes. Ingestion of large birds at high speed caused compressor stalls and flameouts. The physics is blunt. Jet engines rely on a steady inflow of air. When that flow is disrupted by mass, in this case dozens of geese, the compressors stall and fuel combustion ceases. Thrust drops toward zero in seconds. The first seconds after the strikes were critical. The aircraft's altitude, roughly 3,000 feet, and airspeed, near 230 knots, dictated the options. From flight dynamics, glide range for an Airbus A320 at that altitude is limited. Pilots calculate glide ratio, the distance forward the aircraft can travel for each unit of altitude lost. At best glide and optimal configuration, the A320 might cover roughly 5 miles from 3,000 feet. But effective glide distance depends on weight, speed, and configuration, and pilots must also account for time to diagnose the emergency and execute maneuvers. The cockpit voice recorder gives us the decision timeline. Immediately after the impacts, Sullenberger calls out, "Bird strike!" Systems warnings begin. Engines show EICAS messages, low thrust and stall indications. Skiles begins the engine restart checklist, a standard procedure after flameout. That takes precious seconds. Sullenberger, with decades of experience and background as a glider pilot, quickly evaluates runway options. LaGuardia runways were within theoretical reach, but required quick, precise turnbacks, with risk. Turning the jet at low altitude and low speed could induce an aerodynamic stall. The physics of turning at low altitude demand sufficient airspeed and bank angle. Too aggressive a bank increases stall speed, reducing the safety margin. About 30 seconds after the strike, the pilots discuss returning to LaGuardia versus landing elsewhere. SkyCap Traffic Control offers nearby airports. Sullenberger makes a rapid assessment and, within about 60 seconds, declares that returning to LaGuardia or reaching Teterboro would be unlikely without risking loss of control. Instead, he opts for the Hudson River, a flat, obstacle-free surface between Manhattan and New Jersey. That decision hinges on time, distance, and survivability calculus. The cockpit audio captures his concise command, "Prepare for ditching." From decision to touchdown unfolded in roughly 2 minutes. The crew executed emergency checklists with remarkable efficiency. Slats and flaps were configured to an optimal landing setting to reduce stall speed and control descent angle. The glide slope was managed to aim for the narrow river corridor. Flight data shows the aircraft descending from 3,000 feet to impact in 208 seconds? No, to be precise, the timeline from bird strike to water impact is about 3 minutes. Airspeed was controlled to balance energy and stall margin. The ditching itself was near perfect. The fuselage contacted water with a relatively shallow pitch angle, staying largely intact. Evacuation occurred rapidly. Within minutes, all 155 souls on board were rescued by nearby ferries and boats, a remarkable coordinated response. Post-incident analysis confirmed the engines had ingested multiple large birds, causing irreversible damage at that moment. The flight data corroborates Sullenberger's judgment. Attempting to reach an airport would have likely ended in a fatal crash. The miracle on the Hudson demonstrates how technical knowledge, rigorous training, and split-second decision-making intersect under the immutable laws of physics. The cockpit audio and flight data do more than chronicle events. They reveal thought processes, timing, and priorities in a life-or-death scenario. In under 3 minutes, a captain weighed aircraft performance, aerodynamic limits, and human survivability, and chose the path that saved every life on board.